Start with the pledge. Everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone. It's a special night because we have a promotion of a special guy. He recently had a birthday, I think, too, didn't he? Yeah. Happy birthday. These are always some of the best nights when we get to promote people, and for me, it's always doubly special when I've known them basically my entire life. I can't think of a more deserving guy to be promoted and leading Irvington's finest. So. First, I want to apologize that I didn't get time to go home from the train and change, so kind of semi-casual swearing in tonight, but it's not for a lack of respect, it's for a lack of time. But we are very excited. So let me first read the official resolution. Make sure no one to my left or right doesn't agree with me on my assessment. But resolved to appoint Peter Warnicke to the position of sergeant at an annual salary of $130,562. Effective May 21st, 2019, subject to a probationary period of not less than 12 weeks and not more than 52 weeks. I'll make the motion if I can have a second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, congrats. Let's do the swearing in. Okay. We'll do it like this. This is the camera's over there. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Peter Warnicke.
I, Peter Warnicke.
Of the Village of Irvington.
Of the Village of Irvington.
County of Westchester.
County of Westchester.
State of New York.
State of New York.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge.
I will faithfully discharge.
The duties of the Office of Police Sergeant.
The duties of the Office of Police Sergeant.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank
Nice.
Yeah, we have all the time. We have a short agenda tonight.
It's all right. No, he's got pictures.
You sure you want to take one? We can wait.
No.
Okay, go.
Janet will get it for you.
Just cut out my camera. I'm cramming you out of there. Just Photoshop in the time.
I just blinded myself.
Baby, one with Janet. Real quick, is that okay?
Sure.
Go ahead,
Jill, go. Jill, go. Jill, go.
All the paperwork in the way.
You just move it outside at the end of the
Before you leave, I'll have you sign.
Thank you again. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Come on, guys.
We should move these to the end. And not tell anybody. How are you guys? How are you? You say we're waiting for someone else to arrive.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? First up, do we have announcements? First is that the Memorial Day ceremonies will be held, as always, on Memorial Day, which this year is May 27th, 2019, starting at 10:45 a.m. at the Main Street Memorials. This year, we're actually making a slight tweak to the ceremonies, where the first part and the second part, or the last part, will be the same. The ceremony at the monuments, war monuments on Main Street will be the same, and the ceremony in Memorial Park will be the same. But how we get there will be slightly different. Since at least 1932, we've had a parade that went up Main Street, down Broadway, and into Memorial Park. We've seen the numbers of both veterans and other participants dwindle over the years. So it was suggested that perhaps we change that portion of it and just go straight down the aqueduct. I think some of the benefits are we might actually have more people actually attend the second part of the ceremony. It's always sad to me when we have a nice turnout on Main Street and then we have kind of a skeleton crew that follows us down to Memorial Park. So I also think it might be fun for everyone to kind of march together, kind of single file down the aqueduct, maybe with the band playing in front of us. So we're going to try it this year. We'll see how it goes, and if it doesn't work, we can always bring back the parade next year.
I think also the traffic that stopped on Broadway to
Yes,
watch
they'll
this very
appreciate it as
small group of us went their way down the traffic.
And this came out of a recommendation. Village staff met with kind of the two most active veterans, our monument committee and I think it's also our veterans committee. And they were, I think one of them was strongly in favor of this and the other one was apprehensive, and I think he came around at the end. And we were also going to serve refreshments after the second part, so hopefully it'll be a new tradition that we add this year. Also announcing the celebration of the Irvington Girls Basketball Championship Team, which is Sunday, June 2nd, 2019 at 4 p.m. Location still being worked on, but this was, we had gotten rained out of the first time we tried to do this, so the new date is Sunday, June 2nd. Hopefully a lot of people can come to that. Next, I'd like to make, first, just announcing there'll be a public hearing to consider a local law amending the fair and affordable housing provisions of the zoning code, which will be Monday, June 3rd, 2019, at 7 p.m. at Village Hall. Mary Ann, did you want to walk us through some of that?
Yeah, just quickly, it's a few we've been, as the board knows, public probably knows, we've been changing the affordable housing laws as we go along. When we adopted it, just took the model from the county, and we've made some changes to make it more flexible and reflect the village's needs. So this local law would make a few more changes. The first parts of it are really very technical language. There's a section in there now on reduced lot size for single-family houses. It's a little bit, it's not entirely clear, the language, so it clarifies the provision on reduced lot sizes for single-family houses, so that you can build a single-family house on 75% of the required lot size for that area, or if you want to use the full lot size, you can build a two-family house. And that's what it provides now, although the language is a little difficult to understand. And then it adds an analogous provision for two-family districts. That in a two-family district, if you've got the full lot, you could build three-family house instead of a two-family house, or you could build a two-family house on 75% of the lot size. Then a new section's added to create a requirement, to set aside a requirement for assisted living facilities. Right now, there isn't such a provision, so this would require that in assisted living facilities, 5% of the assisted living units be set aside as affordable. And there's an alternative that if the developer of the assisted living facility prefers and the Board of Trustees is amenable to it, they could permit them to pay money into an affordable housing development fund at an amount that would, roughly equal what the assisted living facilities would cost, the assisted living units would cost them. And then the last change in this section 5 is it amends the resource for the reduction of lot size that we talked about earlier.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to hold a public hearing and consider local law amending the fair and affordable housing provisions of the zoning code on Monday, June 3rd, 2019 at 7 p.m. at Village Hall. If I can get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Brenda, I'll ask as a follow-up, maybe we can make sure we send the revisions or the new proposed law to the housing committee. Make sure they're all aware of it. Affordable housing committee. Next is a public hearing to consider local law amending the Irvington zoning code to create the North Broadway Mixed Use District, also for Monday, June 3rd, 2019 at 7 p.m. at Village Hall. You're back, Karen.
You're back on.
This local law implements a recommendation of the comprehensive plan update, which was to amend the zoning on Broadway, north of Strawberry, south of the apartment built multifamily district there, to reflect the uses that are there and to ensure the deep setbacks from Broadway, and that's what, and in doing that, would to eliminate single family lots. and permit uses that are similar to what's there now. It's kind of a long law, so I won't go through it. It's online. I think people should take a look at it. But the uses listed in it are the uses that the comprehensive plan committee update came up with, which was, multifamily, assisted living facilities, offices, boutique hotels, and a few other things. And then it's got new setback requirements and the way they implement the protection of the Broadway buffer has to be at least 250 feet back from Broadway. And then additionally, from between 250 feet and I think it's 300 feet, the buildings can be 2-story and beyond that 3-story. So this was developed by the planner we retained, AKRF, the board worked with them, I worked with them, and the best thing is to read it online.
Yeah, and
I mean, I could go through it.
No, I mean, I actually think we're going to have multiple meetings on this anyway. This is one where we obviously had a whole committee from the comprehensive plan that worked only on this. I actually thought it would take a lot longer to have even a draft law that we could discuss, so I'm kind of happy we have it now, but I do anticipate this, people aren't paying attention to with the bond vote tomorrow and all that kind of stuff, so we want to make sure that, both these laws are, kind of, fairly heard and discussed. I do think this one is a lot harder to understand because there's a lot more moving parts. Like, I think we've already had maybe 4 meetings, or at least 3, where we've kind of, heard the hearings and not necessarily the law, but, kind of discussed the findings with the planner. We had some trouble being able to, kind of visualize what some of the setbacks meant, some of the massing, some of the, FAR. So I think that we want to make sure that the public understands what this is going to mean, and I think we want to ensure that there aren't any unintended consequences of some of these changes that we're making. It does kind of dovetail with the other one because of the, adding adding assisted living, which then, we obviously want to have an affordable housing component of that. That we've actually seen some other communities do creatively that we're, trying to borrow from. So they're a tiny bit related, but, the second one I think is going to take a lot more to kind of get people up to speed and comfortable with, because it's such a sensitive area, as we've seen every time someone comes forward with and I think we have to make sure that, that the word gets out there. It's not like we have great attendance here tonight that are hearing about this. I mean, yes, it's 2 weeks away, but, it's not in front of everyone's mind now.
I would suggest on this one, there's not a lot of property owners involved, but that each of the property owners get notice.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's another follow-up, Brenda.
Did we say it was only on the east side of that
It's the
section?
east
You
side,
said that,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, well, Strawberry Lane's only on the one side.
That's true.
I didn't say on the east
Oh,
side.
okay.
but you're right.
So which property owners now? This is the property owners adjacent?
That would be in this district. There's probably 6 or 5, because some of the properties are owned by one. But
And when you go online, for the public to see what the planner presented as a PowerPoint, online when you go to that meeting, so you can see her presentation?
I think so.
I don't know.
I
You
think it's,
Okay.
I know it was on the original agenda, like her handout.
Right.
Um,
But the actual,
I
you
think
can see it?
I-
Maybe Brenda, if you can.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, depending on which, I think they try to switch cameras when they do it, so if Sarah.
Well, she would
Sarah-
have it. I'm just saying, it helped us a lot.
Oh,
just-
we do have it electronically, I know, because she sent it over the next day.
Yeah, so it's good to see those little blocks and understand the lingo that's in here, that unless you're a planner, an architect, you don't get that lingo easily, but her work and her visuals helped a lot, and you have to kind of look at them a few times, but I'm sure we can get that up online.
Yeah,
If it isn't.
I know the PowerPoint is there electronically. If you don't see it, Brenda, just let me know and I'll send it. I know Larry got it.
So anyway, I'll make a motion to have a public hearing to consider local law amending the Irvington zoning code to create the North Broadway mixed use district Monday, June 3rd, 2019, 7 p.m. in Village Hall. If I can have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone else have any other announcements? Otherwise, I'll move on to correspondence, which there was none. So we'll open up for public comments. Come on up, please, Susie.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Daniel Durango. I am a undergrad student in SUNY Oneonta. I'm studying political science. I'm also a resident here. I've been living here for over 5 years. I live in 8 South Broadway, behind, actually it's right next to Bridgeview Tavern. Or, yeah.
Broadway, Tyler? Bridgeview one in Sleepy Hollow, so I think.
Yeah. Broadway Tavern, the restaurant there, and behind the bar. So my concerns basically, since we live in a house, but it's divided into apartments, and basically we've been having a lot of trouble parking. We usually park in the Fieldport Drive parking lot. It's right across from Tony's, like that, the parking lot there. And the problem is we've been getting a lot of tickets there because they have a 2-hour limit from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So my family, we were wondering, we own 3 cars. We were wondering if we could get some sort of permit so we could pay, one payment, either $100 or whatever you guys think is reasonable. And, we could avoid getting tickets because we're like, at one point, since I'm away in college, my college is about 3 hours away. I don't really have to deal with this. But my sister and my mother, they were getting tickets constantly, like every week, $25. So it's been a burden. And there has been, and if we park in the street, we also get a ticket because you can't park in the street. They just changed the policy. I'm pretty sure it's at 30 minutes or in an hour or 2 hours. I'm not completely sure. And also my mother, her boyfriend. He got, like, his van was robbed twice. He had a bunch of equipment there for his job that he does. He's he does like stonework and construction. So I think there should be more security in that parking lot. And I don't know how that would be fixed, maybe with cameras or with a cop just patrolling it every 2.5 hours or every hour. And in March. I got a ticket when I was here for spring break. For some reason, I got a stomach virus when I was here, and I couldn't move my car. I was at home just, puking, throwing up, and I got a ticket. So then I got better, and then I tried to, find a solution. Like what can I do? So I went to the police station and said, all right, you need to go. Into the village hall, so I did, and I spoke to Sarah Palermo, and she sent me to another department, and then I finally got sent back to her because they said she was in charge of like the parking permits. And as I was talking with her, I was asking a lot of questions because I was concerned and I didn't know the process of how local government works. Now I'm doing 2 internships. I'm doing an internship in with the village administrator of Sleepy Hollow. Anthony Giacchio. I was born and raised in Sleepy Hollow, so I have a lot of connections there. And I'm also doing an internship in a private law firm in White Plains. So basically, as I was speaking to Sarah, Ed Marin Jr., the building inspector, he interrupted my conversation with her, being very confrontational, saying that that this department shouldn't be here, or like you shouldn't be in this department with this concern. And he was very aggressive, and I think that's as a building inspector, and as you represent the village, you represent the town, especially with that authority that he has. He should be respectful to all residents in this town. I still respect him as a man, as a person, but I think he needs to change his attitude for everyone here. So yeah, those are my concerns, and I thank you for taking the time to be here. I really respect any type of local government, and yeah, I just want to see like what can we do for this problem that my family is facing.
So I think there's kind of 3 things quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Parking. Have you guys looked at trying to get a permit for the Aqueduct lot? I know it's not right outside your house.
We have, but it's a little far. Especially like if we're in a rush in the morning trying to get to work. I don't know how far exactly that is. How far is that lot from South Broadway?
Just around
Around the corner.
It is?
Like Allstate, you keep going down
Like a
further,
block.
next to the Yellow House
Yeah.
on Main Street.
Is it like down the hill where that tunnel is, or?
No, it's on Main Street, right here.
You know, you just turn the corner, you have the shops,
Yes.
and you have the Allstate, and the last one is the Yellow
The yellow
House.
house, the yellow.
It's before, the other,
Before
before,
the elementary
before the school.
Oh, okay.
Opposite the school, but closer to Broadway. It's about a block.
Because
Okay.
that one, there's, you can actually get overnight parking there, so that might be probably the easiest solution right now that's already set up.
All right.
Is Brenda.
People, I don't know, may I have your name first? May I take your
Yes.
name and number?
My name is Daniel Durango, Durango, and you need my phone number?
Sure.
Yeah, it's 845-538-6985. Okay. I mean, yeah, I'll check it out, but it will be still a burden because we have to wake up earlier, schedule ourselves. But
We'll have to wake up and, we have certain areas where we can provide parking permits.
Yeah.
We can't guarantee everybody a parking space in front of their
of course
house.
not. Yeah.
We had weeks and weeks and weeks of discussing the parking issues here. There's lots of people who
Oh, yeah.
have to make accommodations and move their cars and deal with fewer permits than they would like.
Mhm.
There are more cars than ever, like your family has 3 cars. It's just, when the village was first put together, the cars were not that abundant.
I agree.
On your point about cameras, we've been talking with the chief about, we'll add that lot maybe to
Definitely.
potential, so if we want to put that to the call-outs for the chief to consider adding cameras up there, because there's cameras that are monitored, obviously by the police all the time.
Yes.
And about the Ed Marin thing, I'll talk to the village administrator about that, so.
Appreciate it. I was gonna say something else. Yeah, I mean, I feel like when it comes to, okay, yeah, you could park in another parking lot. I feel like people that do say that have the privilege of having a private parking lot, which not everyone does have, but it's okay. I will do some research on that.
Just if you apply for it. Where
Yeah.
did you apply for the?
Yeah, I actually have the application,
Okay.
yeah, in my house. But I just wanted to see, of course, I just wanted to see if we could do some solution for Field Point Drive. So that's why I came here. And
It was good to bring it up, and
yeah, of course.
it was good to have you come and
Yeah, I
speak
might
up
come
and-
every week. Why not?
Why not?
Just to get
We got lots of committees you could serve on.
You could use extra people in the audience.
Yeah, I can see that. All right.
The application
Yep.
for that, okay, so you can bring that in anytime you'd like to.
Yeah,
And Brenda's office is on the right-hand side when you come in Village Hall.
Right.
You can ask for Brenda. Or one of her staff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Cheryl Brandwine, 85 South Buckhout Street. We just had a few follow-up questions about the Astorbuck proposals. The first was about the tree commission was looking into the clear cutting of the trees in front of Kevin Gallagher's house and Kevin and Donna Gallagher's house. There was a swath of trees that were taken down, and someone was looking into that. So I just wanted to.
Unfortunately, Larry's not here, so I'm not sure. Mark, you didn't hear anything.
What I heard was that that Alan, the chair, was going to go and verify exactly how many trees of the apparent, protected caliber were affected. He had seen the site evidently right after some of the removals, and a good number of the trees were actually under caliber, they were under 8 inches at breast height. So they were not controlled trees or trees that required permits, but there were some that did. And so the last time I heard, he was planning to go and just double check by looking at the stumps, the relative count and size of trees. I have not heard back from him since that, but there's a tree commission meeting tomorrow evening, and I could in fact ask him, or if you library in the local history room, I think it's going to be 7 o'clock It's gonna be moved forward a half an hour, 15 minutes from the 7:15 time.
I don't think I can attend
Well, I'll bring it
tomorrow,
up to
but
him.
if you don't mind, I know there are a few trees, at least two, that were over 8 inches in diameter, and I'm just curious what happens when someone does just cut
Well,
down
they're
trees.
supposed to be, if they are not in the process of a site plan implementation, in other words, it's been signed off and approved by the planning board, which it is not for that area, then they're supposed to be getting permits.
Okay, we hear trees being pruned and we get nervous now because we're protective of that property.
Well,
Okay, thank
certainly
you for
Bridge Street
following.
knows they're supposed to, not Bridge Street, the Astorbeck folks knows they're supposed to be getting permits. You know, so it's a little bit difficult, I know you hate caveats, but it's a little bit difficult to tell from the stump the actual diameter of the tree at breast height, because various species, you know, they just don't go up like a telephone pole, you know, they tend to have wider down low for anchor roots,
Right.
and then they get kind of a flow up. So, you know, it's kind of hard forensically, except if you can figure out what kind of tree it is, you might be able to more easily understand how quickly it's going to taper off.
Okay, I mean, our main issue is just not to let that happen again. We were
I
upset
know.
to,
I think that if he comes to the conclusion that the trees were not, were protected and not properly permitted, I think he would raise a violation at that point and report it to the police.
thank you, okay. Just a few minutes. The other, just two more points. Now that a new petition is being required for the new plan that Astorbuck has submitted, we were hoping that we could get a decision on the old petition from 2009. It's been outstanding a long time, and now we have a completely different plan before us, which we understand is requiring a new petition, a new environmental analysis, traffic studies, and so forth. So my neighbors and I have asked for a decision on the old petition, so I'm here to ask that again.
Yeah, is there, I don't know, I don't know how, what's the process for that? Like, it's never brought
They're
up
not
or.
pursuing it anymore, so you wouldn't vote on it. so.
They withdrew it? Or
They
did they-
haven't, I don't know whether they, you know, this is called modified or not, whether they're calling it modified public hearing and new secret review and stuff, but,
I mean,
generally in a process like this, when the application changes, is you don't vote on the old one, because it's essentially abandoned.
yeah, I mean, the way I view that one's dead. This is the new one, like that plan, that one was written, will never happen now.
Okay.
That one, I think we got to set, I mean, I think when they left, after we said, you know, their traffic study didn't convince anyone, that one was, I think they just left with it because they knew it was dead. So.
Okay. And speaking of traffic studies, so the two little sub-questions about the traffic studies. Does the village intend to hire a traffic engineer in connection with the new plans for South Buckhout Street? Because you had said you might at some point, and I'm just wondering
Well,
if you...
I mean, typically, you know, we have our traffic person would, you know the process a lot better than I do, how it typically works for the big process.
Yeah, they'll do a traffic study, and then we have our own traffic person take a look at it.
Okay,
If
because
they
I
want-
heard something about that the developer could be required to put money in escrow so that they could
Yeah, that's
pay
how
the
it works, yeah.
village engineer. Which leads me to my last point, which is and it's a little premature on the agenda, number 11, the approval of a contract with Kimley Horn for traffic engineering services. I know that's not related to the Astorbuck properties, but in our view, that's Astorbuck's traffic engineer, so we're wondering what the selection process was in hiring Kimley Horn, because it seems a little bit funny to us.
Frankly, I did not know that was their traffic engineer. It's a firm that we've worked with for a long time.
I mean, I know try and support him, and they do great work. I'm actually quite happy with the report they submitted last year which was underwhelming as far as the traffic.
Yeah, I know I personally did never even consider that they were Astrobucks, because it was, to me, we're looking at New York State's plan, not anything anyone's submitting. So, to me, it was a kind of a non-issue. I don't know, I never thought about it, I don't know if anyone else did, but, especially if it's completely unrelated to that project, so it's.
Okay, I'm just putting it out there because anytime something like that comes up, we always feel a little funny, because the village has and should have a third-party objective view, and the Astorbuck representatives.
If they used that traffic person again, we would, obviously would not be our expert, so we'd have to have someone else for their, to review to review their traffic stuff. If they end up doing it for them, we won't use them, obviously, as our independent traffic engineer. I honestly just think this is kind of like the one we're most familiar with, and that's kind of why we wanted them to review this. And they're really reviewing, all of the data from obviously the New York State Route 9 traffic information or whatever plan, as well as the Continuum, Brightview, Mercy, and what's Breaker Ridge? What's the other one called? Market Ridge. Because they obviously have the traffic studies, so we want to kind of take all of that data that we have, along with the New York State study, and try to put it into something usable that's not in engineering speak that I don't understand, and just figure out what we should do on Broadway. Because, I think everyone says it would be great to have a bike lane and, pedestrian, great super wide sidewalks on both sides, but the reality is we have, two very narrow lanes right now as it is, and a very narrow sidewalk, and I don't know how at certain hours. So, I think I'm going in slightly biased that there's nothing you can really do up there that wouldn't really exacerbate the traffic. And I've heard theories that, the thinner it gets, the better it moves. But I think it's going to be hard for me to accept that. But, we hope to take all of this data and come up with something that isn't just, kind of our gut feel from seeing how horrible it is from, at 7:30 in the morning whenever we're trying to go to high school.
And, we originally reached out, just to give you a background, to John Canning through the traffic committee, because we wanted someone local that understood the traffic to give us just an informal viewpoint of what he thought some of the potential benefits and drawbacks of the Route 9 plan for the Irvington segment. And we heard enough, or at least I heard enough from what his talking, both positives and problems with a few potential mitigations that I thought really getting fully behind the plan with the other municipalities and the river towns, that we really should have more clearer information for the board to understand and for the public to understand, because we don't want to be down the path where people start saying, we went from a grade D to a grade F- intersection or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So. So that's how he got involved, because I recommended that we use him, because he seemed to be one knowledgeable, willing, an informed person from the standpoint of understanding traffic in the village, with a greater visibility than obviously what was in the report.
And we're afraid too, if we just go and say, hey, New York State, can you do a study for us, that we lose control, because it is their road. And what typically has happened when they've gotten to the point of saying, hey, can you study this? Should we go down? Should we lose the lane? Typically, they've said yes everywhere. And the municipality kind of loses their control over it. So we data, first before we ask them to do anything for us. Because
I wasn't here at the work session, but the one thing I would point out is that in some segments on the plan, they did come to the conclusion that having independent bike lanes didn't make sense because of other kinds of requirements like parking, like I think in Tarrytown, for instance, where so the bike lanes would not be independent, but they would be striped on the actual traffic lane, like is done in some places already when there's not enough width to the right-of-way to put in separate bike lanes. So that wasn't suggested for Irvington, but it may be actually something that we want to look at in order to make sure that the throughput through from, Heritage Hill through Main Street and Sycamore keeps moving rather than gets backlogged worse than it is.
Okay, understood. I just wanted to raise the issue that we saw Kim consultant and we weren't sure for what project and in what capacity, because for us, Kimley Horn is representing a highly controversial petition before the village, so we just wanted to touch
Sure.
base.
Great.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions other than, I think there's a revision, Brenda?
Correct, yeah. There was, on the salary schedule, there was one that required a step increase.
Yep.
Yeah, I said that,
So, yeah,
So,
so as revised.
as revised.
So my question looking at it is, I really don't know what these increases represent, and so we have final values, but not, so I didn't know which ones were affected by sort of effectively marrying the
CA,
CSEA contract and which ones were not, where basically supervisory staff isn't on on the contract mirroring route, as so it's kind of hard for me to see where the numbers are coming from.
it was a 2% increase over last year.
Across
So
the
we
board.
have across the board, and in some cases, there was some adjustments. We have a chart for step increases.
So did any, I mean, I wish Larry was here, because I was wondering if there was any kind of performance review undertaken, especially for supervisory staff, before we're just automatically giving them a salary review. The point of performance review is that you may actually make adjustments to salaries based on really good performance or based on problematic performance that doesn't meet goals that have been set up for the previous year. So I feel like just rubber stamping this without what our internal supervisory process of mainly the supervisory staff, the non-contract staff, or the non-civil service staff, I guess is the right way to say it, right? Without that, it's kind of hard to know how we actually generate a process by which we're actually reviewing people for meeting the goals that the village has.
I mean, that does seem like something to put on the agenda, to discuss that issue of performance reviews.
We've
But
had that on the agenda several years running. It was talked about way back when Walter Montgomery was still
Yeah, so I
on
think we
the
should.
board, so it always gets forgotten about.
I think we should put it on the agenda. And again,
I think we should have a formal process as opposed to just sort of saying, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying that as opposed to saying, let's put it on the agenda, let's act this time, which means it doesn't just get put on the agenda,
so
but
what-
there's a follow-up and a follow-through.
I get that. And it's something I've brought up several times, and I think it's too bad that it's, we haven't all aired it, and how that would work, and what we would do, and how we would, what we wanted or didn't want as a board. But this was all in I guess this is all in the consent agenda. I guess that's the meeting that, Mark, you weren't here, right? Or you were?
Consent agenda means it wasn't discussed with the board. It was
Oh,
just-
all right, okay.
just put in.
This isn't the minutes.
Isn't the
Oh,
minutes.
okay, got it.
Unless we're
Yeah.
actually approving this tonight.
Right.
Consent agenda.
So,
Well, I don't mind approving it, but I just find that it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's opaque. I think at the minimum, we should have actual percentages in there, and we should have it clearly marked who is, the other part of it is we have to really get a commitment from Larry to undertake have performance review happening that matches what village goals are based on what our goals have been set. They're set priorities every year, right?
Brendan, do you know how many people, from my quick eyeballing, it looks like to me there's kind of like maybe 4 people that wouldn't be covered? Because I don't think the police chief and the lieutenant kind of fall outside of it.
They do fall out, okay, I'll
So,
say they do.
to me, Larry, we'd be doing it. You, I guess, you're appointed, right? So that'd be us also, most likely.
think we were technically going to appoint you.
I'm an appointment.
Yeah.
But it's a, it's an
So,
appointment, right?
so the building inspector would be covered by that, the supervisor, the superintendent of public works, maybe the assistant superintendent of public works, superintendent of parks and rec.
When you say,
Yeah, they would just be the civil servant kind of stepping.
that we could do a review for them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to do it now, but I just think we need to get the
No, but
process
to me,
done.
I was just thinking like, what it really, like, we could, I think those are the ones that we could, and have some leeway on as to, if someone does a great job, you could give them an extra 2%, and someone doesn't do a good job, you kind of keep it flat.
Exactly. And the other thing is just, we assume that the other workers are being managed by their
Yeah.
direct, as direct reports, like that Brenda's managing the clerk's office staff, and I assume so because,
Yeah,
you know, we haven't heard complaints, right?
So what we put as a follow-up, maybe at the next work session, if it's not too busy, we can also do it at the regular
So are we,
meetings.
right, to follow
To
up,
discuss the review process and the enhanced review process for department heads.
And
Yeah, maybe it's something we
if
can.
there's any, like you said, associate, or like, I was looking at the, I don't know about the assistant building, but the
I guess we start with.
assistant superintendent of public works, James.
Yeah, you might be in there, so I think it'd be probably, start with a list of people, and then I think what I anticipate being, the best way to do it is we have an annual, kind of executive session where we go into, Larry kind of gives us the detailed review process that happened.
Right. Plus, as I said, we have to have, before that, obviously, because it's an annual process, we have to make sure that we are expressing clearly to Larry as the village administrator, what we're seeing as goals specific to emphasize for each of these various departments. Additional goals than just the normal make the village work day to day.
Right.
There are going to be other ones.
Agreed.
As an example,
You kind of have that as a follow-up then?
sure. As a
Thank you.
follow-up,
Oh, I was thinking that was in the minutes, that's why I was thinking it was in the minutes of the last meeting, but it wasn't, that was in the consent agenda.
so you want to
Right.
establish an employee review process
Department.
for department heads.
assuming there's already one for.
Yeah, we like to review the process, I think.
So we have a clear sense of who's supervising, who manage the expectations and targets.
Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. If I can get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 8 is authorizing tax certiorari settlement, 23, 25, and 33 Dearman Close. Brenda, do you have anything you want to say about any of these? Any of these?
No,
not
these here
anticipated?
have been on our radar for some time. There were 3, the first 2 are somewhat related because one of the parcels was sold to the second one, so those 2 are related. And so it's really involving 1, 2, 3, 4 parcels, almost 4 parcels altogether.
Okay. So I'll read the first one. Whereas petitions have been filed by the Joshua Brain 2012 Revocable Tax Assessment Village Assessment Roll respect to the subject property for 2016 and 17 assessment years. Now therefore, the Office of the Village Attorney is authorized to effectuate a settlement commensurate with the following terms. They're detailed for each year. The village's share of the refund is $7,328.81. I'll make a motion to pay it. If I can get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next one, number 9 on the agenda, whereas petitions have been filed by Christopher Tague, challenging real property assessments of the village assessment roll with respect to the subject property of the 2017 assessment year, which is 23 Dearman Close. Now therefore, the Office of the Village Attorney is authorized to effectuate a settlement commensurate with the following terms. 2017, a total of $1,407.91. I'll make a motion to pay it if I get a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And the last one, agenda item 10, is for 33 Stearns Ridge. Whereas petitions have been signed by Paul DeRigo, challenging real property tax assessments of the village assessment roll with respect to the subject property for the 2016 to 18 assessment years. Again, it's 33 Stearns Ridge. Now therefore, the office of the village attorney is authorized to effectuate a settlement commensurate with the following terms. It's a total refund of $4,165.11. I'll make the motion. If I get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
So Brian, I'm a little confused on one thing, and maybe someone can help me out on this one. Some of these dates were post reassessment, so if I,
Seems like the number should.
2011 was the assessment, the 100%? I mean, to go into the Greenberg or the 100%?
going to Greenberg, that
Greenberg?
was the Greenberg was, I thought, going to 100%.
No, not when it first started, that was 2011. And then,
Well, the reassessment was just 2017?
17.
Or 16? These folks, I guess I'm a little confused,
these are the new, right?
why are they already grieving their taxes when they aren't they supposed to go through a reassessment grievance first?
I guess it was denied, and people did still grieve their new assessments.
Right, but there's a whole process for that that doesn't involve the tax certiorieries. So I'm not,
I think once that process was over, when they said, you know, in the
They
first,
go, right,
like in the rego, you know, they might have said it was, you know, they might have originally said it was 900. He said, I think it's 800. They said, okay, and then he came back and said, you know what, I still think it's lower. Who knows? I guess I think that was one of the things I was fooled by, was I thought the assessments would go away, but the certiorari process.
well,
would
I
go
understand
away.
there could be, but it seems to me that, is this, I guess I would like Larry to talk to us about this a little bit when he's back, or have the certiorari lawyer write something up. Understand why it is that, you know, a lot of people are tied up right now waiting, frankly, for Greenberg to process. There's a lot of backup in the tax court right now, in the court that's hearing the assessment.
The SCAR ones, or for SCARs, or for actual reassessments, like?
For the reassessments, there's a very large backup of, from what I've heard, several years. That could be just someone's opinion, but of all the people who are, like in Irvington, who felt they were overassessed. So the process is to go to, you know, the town tax assessor, and they review it, and if you don't get joy there, then you have to actually go into a court process.
Right, well, I think that this is the tail end of that court process, right? Like, this is like, instead of going to court, they basically said, you know, Greenberg said, yeah, you're right, or whatever.
well, this will be a court order when I receive
Right.
it.
Right.
They have a small claims assessment review. First, you know, the assessor reviews it, if they cannot understand, it goes to a small claims assessment review. Many of those, we have none outstanding at the time, right now, on the prior year assessments. Those have all been settled. What we do have is a number of certiorieries, and it's really dwindling down. It's not a long list of them that we have.
I'm just, again, like I said, I'm confused because these dates overlap with what should have been part of the,
I can follow up with Ed Lammers as to that.
yeah, the assessment grievance process. Now, maybe this came out of the courts agreed that the was overassessed and reduced the assessment, and because of that, refunds were due. If that's the case, then that's totally understandable, right? Because the court would have said, oh yeah, you know, you've been overassessed. And
Right, this is what we're agreeing now is that the attorney has the authorization to negotiate these settlements, and then I'll pay them out once I get a court order. So I will get one that's from the court, Supreme Court.
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to make sense of the process, and it doesn't matter. I understand what you're saying, but it just seems like there's something that I don't understand, and maybe
Well, I
we
think
need to get a little.
there was also the part of, like, that was even further back, where they didn't even go to the town, they went to, like, the actual.
Right, but the dates of this,
Right, so, but I think this was after, so I mean, I think this is like, you know, maybe they went to, what was the firm that did it, that everyone hated? They went to the firm and said, hey, I don't think it's worth, you know, 800 and 2,000. They said, well, we think it is. And then they said, okay, well, then that didn't get anything there, so they had to go back to the court process, and that's why it's taken so
well,
long.
that is what the process is, but you don't go to the
Before there
court,
was,
you go to.
before they had the court, they had the one where you could just go and sit with them and kind of do it without a court and say, my valuation is not right.
Right, and that was the review through, essentially through the tax office, but the
Exactly.
assessor's
And
office.
my guess is like, if that's what they said, now, well, you know, as long as we go with 802, 600, then they said, okay, fine, but we disagree, and then that's when they went to court.
Right, I just wanted to get a confirmation.
Inquire with Ed Lammers, a little bit of background as to what these parcels are.
Right, because if they'd already gone through trying to get it reassessed through the Greenberg and then failed and went to court, then this makes sense. But if they didn't do that, then I'm wondering why these properties are special.
Right. I don't believe I'm not familiar with the property specifically, if they're a commercial property or.
No, they're not.
They're not
So it sounds
exactly.
like we need Ed Lammers to elucidate
Because
the
usually it's a commercial that goes to certiorari.
So we need somebody else to weigh in to elucidate
So
the
maybe
issue.
find out from Ed,
Yeah.
Mr. Lammers here to give us a response.
And if you don't understand the question, either Brian or I can write it up, the question up for him, because I think it's really one of timing, procedural and timing stuff.
Next up is approval of contract 2019-10 with Kimley Horn for traffic engineering services. Kimley. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously it's not a big contract. It's a lot of information kind of to dumb down for me at least to read and see what.
The professional contract under $5,000, I think that's a cutoff for,
Well, any professional services
Yeah,
end up for
it's-
bid, so.
right.
Actually, the contract says not to exceed 6,200.
Yeah. There's two pieces of it, I think. There's a $2,500, so two $2,500 fees and,
And an hourly fee.
yeah.
I guess you looked at this contract, Mary Ann, or you
I
know,
think he's using the standard.
the standard, our standard contract? Okay. All right.
So if no one has questions or comments on this, resolve to approve a contract with Kimley Horn of New York PC for traffic engineering services related to the Route 9 active transportation corridor study for amount not to exceed $6,200 and to authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. I'll make the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reports of boards, standing committees, and officers. Trustee liaison reports. Start with Mark.
I don't really have anything except to say that the normal meetings are on. The tree commission meets, this is the second Tuesday, and was it the first? I'm losing track now. Anyways, they're meeting tomorrow, so that must be, it's first and third Tuesdays in the library at 7:15. And the Green Policy Task Force is meeting the third Thursday of every month in the Tiffany Room, and that is at 7:30. And these meetings are open to folks to come and participate and check out what the various committees are doing and see if they want to become more involved.
All right. John?
Just a reminder about the Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony, which is Monday, May 27th, 10:45 at the Main Street Memorial, followed by a walk down the Aqueduct, followed by our regular ceremony with some additional snacks and drinks available. The Irvington Woods Committee is going to hold a planning workshop on June 20th at 7 p.m. at the O'Hara Nature Center. There will be a pollinator hotel constructed and installed at the O'Hara Nature Center by June 7th. The annual dance and ballet tap recital is Saturday, June 1st. If you haven't gone, you don't need to have a kid in it. It's really great. It's really great to watch it. To see. Sunday, June 2nd is the Celebrate the High School Varsity Basketball Team. It is also the first of our back on Sunday farmers markets. High school graduation is Saturday, June 22nd in Matheson Park. Next and final meeting of the Community Advisory Board is June 11th, 8 a.m. at the Senior Center. The annual WFAN radio station softball game is Tuesday, June 11th, 6:30 p.m. The River Spring Hebrew Home softball team will be playing. And the second annual overnight co-ed softball tournament to raise awareness for Alzheimer's and dementia caregivers is scheduled to start on Friday night, June 14th, and goes through all night and then Saturday morning, June 15th. At Scenic Hudson.
That's it?
That's it.
Connie?
Okay, well, there's an interesting film being shown at our Irvington Town Hall Theater. It's May 23rd, which would be Thursday, I believe. It's a film with the filmmakers, and it's called World Before Your Feet. And it's about Matt Green. He's been walking every block of every street in New York City. Really interesting. So the filmmakers will be there to talk about this film with their Q&A, 7:30, May 23rd. I thought that was fascinating. And the Water Department and the Highway Department. Okay, so the Highway Department cleaned the swale on Hudson Road West. Assisted the Water Department and the town of Greenberg jet truck with jetting and clearing. This is what they jetted and cleared. 540 feet of drainage pipe from Sunnyside Lane culvert back to 120 North Broadway. Wow. 240 feet from 33 Fargo Lane north and 200 feet on Riverview Road. From the pond across to number 76 to the east. Did you see all that?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll happen without my knowledge.
Okay, so they had the annual truck day, and they assisted. I'm sure you're going to hear more about this. Painting lines, cleaning catch basins, filling potholes, and the water department did the water meters, the maintenance of the water department, continuing to work on the Halsey Pond Dam. I get a lot of questions. People ask me, like, what's going on? I'm trying to explain about the dam. The dam, I'm fixing. Working on hydrant maintenance list, and working together. Oh, there was a company called Duke's Root Control. They came and they worked on 4 sewer mains in the village for their yearly maintenance. I mean, all this stuff goes on not just to make things work. They did meeting with a contractor on this big project, the Hudson View Culvert Project, to discuss the water and sewer portion to be performed as part of this project. So these are all things that make our life seamless and wonderful here. That's it.
I did one point about the what's going on at Halsey Pond.
Yes.
Apparently, the terribly wet weather has made it impossible for the construction vehicles to do what they're supposed to do according to the schedule they had set up. So it's taking a little bit longer than anybody could have anticipated because of the wind.
Instead of bringing June?
Yeah, I knew that because somebody I know is very concerned about this. Anyway,
I'm done.
Oh, okay. Village Court, 78 charges received, a total of 81 charges received, 195 disposed, for a total of 21,000, a little more in fines, almost 10,000 in surcharges, a few hundred in civil fees, for a total of 31,698 remitted to the state controller. For the fire department, Chief Dowd reports second floor renovations are almost complete. The department responded to Tarrytown on Mother's Day for a working structure fire. For 3 cars and Ladder 36 assisted in fire suppression and overhaul. And just again, this was on Mother's Day, which means that people had to interrupt whatever celebration they were doing to do what they have volunteered to do. Irvington High School girls basketball barbecue is rescheduled for 6/2. The Irvington Fire Company will be barbecuing for the event. And the Girl Scouts came to visit on May 4th and took a tour of the firehouse. The library truck day was the star event this month. Approximately 175 people attended, one of the best attended ever.
A lot of 5-year-olds.
Oh, there were really little kids. Grateful for the participation of the fire and police departments, the DPW, and the ambulance corps, as well as Jimmy's soft serve. And we could not have asked for more perfect weather. Seriously, though, this was a swarm of little kids swarming all over these trucks, ringing every bell and siren, but there was also a point here. These kids were inside an ambulance. Let's explain to them why this happens. Should they encounter an ambulance, it won't be quite as daunting as it might have been otherwise. Second annual student recital day on 5/18. 16 musicians who study with local music teachers participated. This day gives young musicians the opportunity to perform in a large room with an accompanist and an audience. which many students who study privately do not otherwise have an opportunity to do. And many of us will note the following program this Thursday, May 23rd, from 7 to 8:30. We have a volunteer who will help people solve any problems you may have using e-readers, tablets, Android, and iPhones. We won't even speculate about what demographic they're aiming at here, but you're welcome to stop by and bring your fully charged devices and somebody will help you. Also, Unplug and Unwind Game Night on the last Thursday of every month. Next one is May 30th from 5 to 6. There will be classic board and card games like Chess, Checkers, Uno, Ticket to Ride, Dominion, Pandemic. You can also bring your own. The program will continue past 6 if there is sufficient interest. And apparently it's been extremely popular.
What's the age range with it?
It started out as young adult, but it's been a wide range of people. Families have been coming together, teenagers have been coming. It's surprisingly popular.
You could definitely go, Connie.
Yeah, we can all go.
I want to
Absolutely.
know the age range. It's like a cutoff, an age cutoff.
And last but certainly not least, I doubt that anybody is not aware of this, but from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow is the school vote at the Main Street School for the school budget, bond, and 2 members of the Board of Trustees.
Right.
Good reminder.
Well done.
Village administrator's not here, village clerk treasurer.
We plan to have an online portal to pay your taxes on June 1st.
Really?
So anyway, a lot of twists and turns, but we're hopeful at this point it will happen.
You will miss all those little pieces of paper?
Well, I don't know how we're going to get the word out. It's a little premature to put the word out right this week, but it'll be something in the tax bill that people, to encourage them to pay online, and we're doing it without a fee to the resident.
Yes.
So I think that's a big plus to all the residents, right? And they don't have to then use the lockbox and send it in. And of course, we take payments in the office anytime by check or by, there's a credit card fee, of course, but they want to pay just with the regular e-check online. You put your checking account information, that would be available. That's been a big push in my office to make things more, consumer friendly.
Yeah.
First with the water bill and now with the taxes.
Yes. Yes. Good.
I love the automatic water bill, so it's great. Village attorney's report, public comment?
Point of clarification, when is voting for the education budget?
Tomorrow,
Yes, but,
7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
okay.
at the Main Street School right here.
Right
And I
across from the
happen to be
Aqueduct
opening
parking
and closing polls, so say hi when you come in. I will be looking for you.
So, do you have to vote, like, in whatever town that you live in, or can you vote for, like, basically, can I vote for Sleepy Hollow, or I have to
No.
vote for it?
We're voting for, the Irvington School District is larger than the village,
Of course.
but you are voting in the district in which you live.
Got it, so I'll be there.
Review of action items, we have a couple.
Yeah, I have a total of 4 here.
Okay.
The first one was to give to the Affordable Housing Committee the local law amendments, public hearing. The second one was to notify the property owners that will be in the North Broadway mixed-use district. Third one was to make available the PowerPoint presentation when those changes to the local, the mixed-use district is posted online. To have a PowerPoint linked into that. Right. And lastly was to ask Atlanta as a process or as to why these particular search areas were searched.
I think the only other thing is to make sure we add the
And
staff
also the
review.
staff review.
Right, so that's 5 items.
That's fine. Good.
Without further ado, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Give a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.